Have you ever found yourself scrolling through someone else's life, feeling that sharp, sinking pull of envy, wishing you were them, wishing your life looked different? That moment, that fleeting glance at someone else's success, their happiness, or their possessions, steals something from you that you can never get back. Your energy, your focus, your present. Every comparison is a silent thief, quietly convincing you that your journey is not enough, that your effort is too small, that your life is somehow lacking. And in those moments, you forget the most important truth of all. Your life is yours, not theirs, not anyone else's. Yours. Yet it is so easy to let yourself be trapped, pulled, and defined by the achievements and appearances of others. You measure your worth against what someone else has, someone else does, someone else is. And in doing so, you give away the one thing that truly matters. Your power to grow, to create, to change your life from the inside out. Imagine for a moment how different life would feel if you could stop that comparison. If you could silence that inner voice that whispers, "I'm not enough," every time someone else posts a highlight of their life. Imagine waking up and feeling that your worth is not borrowed from others' validation, but something you carry inherently, deeply, unshakably. This is not a distant dream. This is not empty motivation. This is a choice. You can decide today, in this moment, to stop measuring your journey against someone else's shadow and start giving your attention to what only you can control. Your own growth, your own focus, your own life. The moment you step out of the trap of comparison, something shifts inside you. Anxiety eases, pressure fades, energy that was once spent envying others begins to fuel something greater, your ambitions, your dreams, your purpose. You start to see clearly that the world does not owe you validation and that you do not owe your happiness to anyone else's approval. Every glance at someone else's success becomes less of a threat and more of a reminder that possibility exists, that growth is real, that achievement is possible, that you can build something uniquely yours. And the emotional reward is profound. You no longer live in the shadows of other people's lives. You begin to inhabit your own life fully with a freedom you may have never felt before. That freedom is intoxicating, magnetic, and transformative. When you commit to focusing on yourself, the world doesn't get smaller, it expands. You notice your own potential, your own talents, your own opportunities. You find courage in your abilities, pride in your progress, and strength in your persistence. Life becomes a series of steps you take toward your own vision, not a constant race trying to keep up with someone else's. This is why staying engaged, staying present, and reclaiming your focus is not just an option. It is the key to unlocking a life that is yours in every sense. You have the chance, right now, to stop giving your energy away and start building the life you were meant to live. The choice is simple. Turn inward. Focus on yourself. Everything else can wait because what you are about to create, what you are about to claim will transform everything. Do you know the difference between living for approval and living for yourself? Most of us spend our lives chasing the nods, the likes, the quiet or loud recognition from others, thinking that our value is tied to how we are seen. But here's the truth. No amount of praise from someone else can fill the emptiness of self-doubt. No compliment, no recognition, no applause can replace the satisfaction that comes from knowing you are enough exactly as you are. Your worth is not measured by how many people notice you, how many people admire you, or how closely you match someone else's idea of success. It is internal, unwavering, and constant. The moment you begin to feel that, the moment you truly accept that your value is inherent, is the moment your life begins to shift. When you focus on yourself, you stop giving your power away to the fleeting opinions of others. Every second you spend seeking approval is a second lost from building the life you deserve. Research shows that people who cultivate intrinsic motivation, motivation that comes from within, from personal satisfaction, growth, and meaning, experience deeper happiness and more lasting success than those who rely on external validation. When your goals are driven by your own purpose, not someone else's judgment, you unlock a kind of energy that can't be matched. Imagine waking up each morning fueled not by comparison or expectation, but by the simple, powerful desire to grow, to improve, to become a better version of yourself. That energy transforms everything. Your work becomes sharper, your creativity expands, and your confidence rises naturally without the need for anyone else to confirm it. This is not just about feeling good. It's about reclaiming control over your life. Every time you let someone else's standards dictate your actions, you surrender a piece of your freedom. You become a passenger in your own story, watching from the sidelines as others set the rules, define the milestones, and determine what is worthy. But when you shift your focus inward, everything changes. You begin to act intentionally, to choose paths that align with your values, your dreams, and your strengths. You start to celebrate your own victories, small and large, without needing validation. Each step forward becomes a proof to yourself that you are capable, resilient, and powerful. You begin to see that the life you've been waiting for isn't a reward someone else will hand you. It is something you create every day with every choice you make. Feeling this shift is electric. It quiets the noise of comparison, reduces the fear of judgment, and strengthens your emotional resilience. Your self-esteem becomes self-sustaining, fueled by actions that reflect your true priorities. You start to notice the freedom in saying no to things that don't serve you, in walking away from environments that drain you, in dedicating your time and energy to what truly matters. Each moment you spend focusing on yourself compounds into progress, confidence, and a sense of ownership over your own life. And the deeper you dive into this practice, the more you realize that your happiness, your growth, and your success are not dependent on the world's recognition. They have always been inside you, waiting for you to claim them. Have you ever paused to consider whose path you are walking? Too often we drift along roads that were not designed for us, following maps drawn by someone else's expectations, someone else's successes, someone else's life. And in doing so, we lose touch with our own direction, our own purpose, our own power. The more you try to measure yourself against the paths of others, the further you stray from what you are capable of creating. Your life is not meant to be a copy of someone else's achievements. It is meant to be an original, a journey shaped by your choices, your vision, and your courage to walk it authentically. The clarity of this truth is liberating because it shows you that comparison is not just unnecessary, it is destructive. Every second spent envying or imitating is a second stolen from building something only you can build. When you turn your focus inward, you unlock a level of creativity, resilience, and determination that cannot exist when your attention is divided. The brain is wired to perform best when it works for goals aligned with personal meaning. Science shows that pursuing your own objectives strengthens motivation, enhances satisfaction, and increases the likelihood of achieving long-term success. The moment you decide to follow your own path, your mind shifts from reactive comparison to proactive creation. Every action becomes a step toward the life you envision, not a reflection of someone else's standards. You begin to realize that the milestones you once chased because others valued them might not even matter to you. And that realization, though uncomfortable at first, is powerful. It frees you to set your own pace, define your own victories, and measure success by your growth, not by anyone else's applause. This freedom comes with a responsibility, and it is a responsibility that transforms fear into fuel. When you walk a path that is yours alone, fear will arise, the fear of judgment, the fear of failure, the fear that you are not enough. But this fear is not a warning. It is a signal that you are stepping into your power. Every step taken despite fear builds courage, reinforces resilience, and strengthens the belief that you are capable of shaping your own destiny. When you stop worrying about how your journey appears to the world and focus on how it serves your growth, fear becomes a tool instead of a barrier. It sharpens you, energizes you, and propels you forward. The more you embrace it, the more unstoppable you become. Each day you choose your own path, you reclaim energy that comparison once drained. You notice opportunities that were invisible when your mind was occupied with others' achievements. You feel pride in the small wins that belong solely to you, confidence in your ability to handle challenges on your terms, and clarity about what you want to create next. This is the moment when focus shifts from distraction to intention, from imitation to innovation, from fear to courage. It is in this space that real transformation begins. Your life, guided by your own vision, becomes a canvas for possibility, a field where your potential is no longer measured by others but expressed fully through your choices, your actions, and your relentless dedication to yourself. Have you ever noticed how easily your mind drifts into endless loops of what if and if only, comparing yourself to everyone around you? That constant chatter, those quiet judgments, the relentless measuring of your life against others, It doesn't just steal your time, it steals your peace. Your mind becomes cluttered with distractions that pull you away from your own growth, from your own clarity, from the power that exists in focusing fully on yourself. Every moment spent wondering about someone else's success or path is a moment lost from honing your skills, building your strength, and shaping a life that belongs only to you. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. Once you recognize the patterns of comparison and distraction, you gain the ability to redirect your energy, to reclaim control, and to train your mind to serve your goals instead of sabotaging them. Mindfulness is not a luxury. It is a tool that rewires your focus and strengthens your emotional resilience. Research shows that practicing mindful awareness allows you to observe your thoughts without being consumed by them. You begin to notice envy or distraction as fleeting signals rather than permanent truths. Each time you observe these feelings and gently return your attention to your own path, you reinforce a habit that transforms your life over time. The simple act of noticing, of acknowledging your thoughts and emotions, creates space between you and the automatic pull toward comparison. That space is where clarity, creativity, and intentional action thrive. Your mind begins to function not as a mirror of the world around you, but as a compass guiding you toward what matters most in your life. When you commit to being fully present with yourself, you unlock emotional energy that was previously drained by constant observation of others. You start to feel lighter, more focused, and more capable of acting with purpose. Your goals become clearer, your priorities sharper, and your confidence grows because it is built from internal validation, not external approval. Every mindful decision you make strengthens the neural pathways that support concentration, resilience, and self-motivation. You begin to see that distraction and comparison are not your enemies. They are signals that your attention has wandered, waiting for you to bring it back to your own life. Each time you do, you reinforce the truth that your power lies in self-focus, self-discipline, and unwavering presence. The emotional impact of this practice is profound. Anxiety eases because your mind no longer lives in other people's shadows. Pressure diminishes because your worth is no longer tied to their standards. Joy and satisfaction grow naturally because every achievement is yours, fully earned and fully experienced. You start to appreciate the rhythm of your own growth, the small victories that compound into transformation, the quiet moments that build resilience and self-belief. Focusing on yourself does not mean ignoring the world. It means mastering your inner world so you can navigate the outer world with clarity, strength, and purpose. Every time you return your attention to yourself, you are training your mind, your focus, and your spirit. You are creating a foundation that no external influence can shake. You are building momentum toward a life where your energy is spent intentionally, where your actions are aligned with your values, and where your growth is unstoppable. Mindfulness becomes a daily practice of reclaiming your power, sharpening your focus, and stepping fully into your potential. The more consistently you do this, the more effortless it becomes, and the more deeply you experience the freedom, clarity, and strength that arise from living fully for yourself. Have you ever wondered what would happen if every action you took came from your own drive instead of the approval of others? Most people live their lives reacting to external expectations, chasing recognition, and letting validation dictate their choices. The problem is that this energy is fleeting. Compliments fade, likes disappear, and applause eventually stops. When your motivation depends on someone else, it is fragile, temporary, and unreliable. True power, deep satisfaction, and lasting progress come from acting for yourself, from finding a source of motivation that exists entirely within. Intrinsic motivation, the drive to grow, to create, and to excel for your own fulfillment, is what fuels sustainable success. When your energy comes from within, it cannot be taken, it cannot be stolen, and it cannot be exhausted by comparison. When you focus on yourself, you begin to identify what truly matters to you. Beyond the expectations and judgments of others, you discover the goals that resonate with your soul, the challenges that ignite your determination, and the victories that bring genuine pride. Every choice, every effort, every moment spent on your growth compounds into results that are meaningful to you and no one else. Your mind becomes sharper, your focus clearer, and your resilience stronger because your actions are aligned with purpose rather than performance. Each step you take toward your own vision builds confidence and self-reliance. You begin to understand that the life you desire is not waiting for permission or validation. It is waiting for your commitment, your attention, and your courage to act consistently in its direction. The freedom that comes from self-driven motivation is transformative. You are no longer chained to the fleeting opinions, judgments, and comparisons that once ruled your life. The energy you once spent worrying about how others perceive you is now available for your growth, your creativity, and your achievements. You feel lighter, more powerful, and more capable with each intentional choice. When your motivation comes from within, setbacks become lessons, obstacles become opportunities, and fear becomes fuel. Every challenge you face strengthens your commitment to yourself, reinforces your focus, and deepens the belief that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined. This inner drive changes the way you experience life. Joy becomes deeper because it is earned and authentic. Pride grows because it is rooted in self-recognition rather than external praise. Confidence rises because you know that your accomplishments belong solely to you and no one can take them away. When your actions are guided by your own purpose, fear and doubt no longer control your decisions. You move forward with clarity, determination, and unstoppable momentum. You begin to see that life is not about keeping up with others. It is about aligning your actions with your own goals, passions, and potential. Every moment you choose to act for yourself strengthens your mind, your spirit, and your resolve. Each decision made from intrinsic motivation builds momentum that compounds into transformation. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are creating it. Your energy becomes a force that shapes your path, your growth, and your future. The more you focus on yourself, the more empowered, focused, and alive you become. Every day, every action, and every thought becomes a building block for the life you are capable of achieving, a life defined by purpose, passion, and the unwavering power of self-driven motivation. Fear is not your enemy. It is not a signal that you are weak or incapable. It is a guidepost, a message from your mind that you are stepping into growth, into uncharted territory, into the life that has always been waiting for you. Most people run from fear, letting it dictate their choices, letting it shrink their potential, letting it steal their dreams. They measure themselves against others and retreat when comparison magnifies every doubt. But what if you could see fear not as a barrier, but as fuel? Every moment you feel that tightness in your chest, that hesitation in your step, that inner resistance, it is pointing you directly toward the areas where growth is possible, where courage is required, where transformation lies. When you focus on yourself, fear changes its form. It no longer paralyzes you, it energizes you. Every challenge that arises becomes an opportunity to prove to yourself that you are stronger than your doubts, more capable than your insecurities, and more determined than the voices that tell you to quit. The brain responds to courage and deliberate action by releasing chemicals that strengthen resilience, focus, and confidence. You are literally rewiring yourself moment by moment with every choice to move forward despite fear. This is not theory, this is science, and it is real. The more you act with courage, the more naturally courage flows through you. Fear becomes the engine that drives your growth rather than the obstacle that limits it. The emotional power of embracing fear is extraordinary. When you confront it, you feel alive in a way that passive, comparison-driven living can never provide. You notice the clarity that comes from knowing your actions are aligned with your purpose, not the expectations of others. You experience a deep sense of pride in your willingness to face uncertainty, to take responsibility for your own life, to prioritize growth over approval. Each act of bravery, no matter how small, compounds into momentum, reinforcing the belief that you are capable of achieving what you once thought impossible. The fear that once held you back transforms into a companion, a guide, and a signal that you are on the path that belongs to you. Every step you take despite fear strengthens self-trust. You begin to rely on your own judgment, your own abilities, and your own courage rather than seeking permission, reassurance, or validation from others. You recognize that a life you want is not a reward anyone else can give you. It is something you claim with your own hands, through your own actions, through your willingness to move forward when others would hesitate. The more you focus on yourself, the less power fear and comparison hold over you, and the more fully you inhabit your potential. This is the transformative moment where fear becomes fuel and self-focus becomes strength. You are no longer living reactively, influenced by others' paths, achievements, or opinions. You are living proactively, guided by your own goals, your own courage, and your own vision. Every choice, every action, every moment of attention directed inward becomes a statement of self-mastery, resilience, and unstoppable growth. Fear, once a weight, is now a catalyst. Comparison, once a distraction, is now irrelevant. Your life is yours to shape, and every step you take with courage moves you closer to the freedom, power, and fulfillment that exist on the other side of fear. Discipline is the bridge between who you are now and who you are capable of becoming. It is not punishment or restriction. It is an act of respect toward yourself, a declaration that your growth matters more than fleeting comfort. Without discipline, potential remains dormant, dreams fade, and the pull of comparison or distraction grows stronger. Every day you choose consistency, every day you show up for yourself, even when it feels difficult, you are reinforcing a foundation that no external influence can shake. Your focus sharpens, your confidence strengthens. Your ability to withstand setbacks grows because discipline is not about doing what is easy. It is about doing what is necessary for your life to expand. When you focus on yourself through disciplined action, your energy is no longer scattered. It becomes precise, targeted, and intentional. Habits form neural pathways in the brain, making focus, motivation, and resilience easier with each repetition. The small actions that feel almost invisible now, waking up on time, dedicating time to practice, making consistent choices aligned with your goals, compound into extraordinary results over time. Science shows that incremental, persistent effort produces far more lasting change than sporadic bursts of inspiration. Discipline turns effort into momentum, momentum into growth, and growth into a life that feels unmistakably yours. The emotional payoff of discipline is profound. Each time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, you feel a surge of pride, of self-respect, of empowerment. You begin to trust your own judgment, your own abilities, your own strength. The approval of others becomes irrelevant because your self-worth is now anchored in your own actions, not someone else's recognition. You start to experience freedom, the freedom that comes from knowing that you are in control of your life, that you are the author of your progress, that you are capable of showing up for yourself no matter the circumstances. Comparison and distraction lose their grip because your attention is fully devoted to the path that matters most, your own. Discipline also transforms fear and doubt into allies rather than obstacles. Each act of self-control reinforces the message to your mind that you are capable, resilient, and trustworthy. You prove to yourself that you can endure discomfort, resist temptation, and prioritize long-term growth over short-term satisfaction. Every decision aligned with your goals strengthens your capacity to overcome setbacks and seize opportunities. The mental clarity and emotional stability that come from disciplined focus create a powerful inner environment where fear is manageable, anxiety is reduced, and purpose drives every action. When you commit to discipline as a form of self-respect, you are building more than habits. You are building identity. You become the person who follows through, who values their own growth, who acts with intention rather than reaction. Comparison no longer distracts you because your life is being constructed from consistent, purposeful action, brick by brick. Every choice, no matter how small, becomes a vote for the life you are creating, a testament to your focus, your courage, and your relentless commitment to yourself. Discipline is the quiet engine that fuels transformation, the invisible force that shapes every step of your journey, and the key to living a life defined not by others, but by your own unwavering pursuit of excellence. Approval is fleeting, but growth is permanent. The world constantly tries to tell you what matters, how success should look, and whose standards you should meet. If you let it, you will spend your life performing for others, shaping your actions around their judgments, and measuring your worth by their applause. But that life is empty. Real fulfillment comes not from looking good, sounding impressive, or matching someone else's image. It comes from expanding your own abilities, deepening your understanding, and moving closer each day to your highest potential. The mind thrives on progress, not performance. When you focus on learning, creating, and improving for yourself, your motivation becomes unstoppable and your satisfaction becomes enduring. A growth mindset rewires your perspective. Every challenge is no longer a threat. Every failure no longer a reflection of inadequacy, and every comparison no longer a measure of your worth. Instead, they become opportunities to refine your skills, to stretch beyond your limits, and to see how far you can rise. Psychology shows that people who adopt a growth-oriented approach experience higher resilience, greater creativity, and deeper satisfaction because their focus is on mastery rather than image. When you act for yourself, rather than for recognition, fear and doubt shrink. You start to measure success by what you learn, by how you evolve, by how much closer you get to your vision, not by how others perceive you. The freedom that comes from this shift is electrifying. Focusing on growth also transforms your emotional landscape. Anxiety fades because you no longer live in constant comparison. Frustration diminishes because every setback is a lesson rather than a failure. Pride emerges naturally, rooted in effort and progress, not in applause or acknowledgement. You begin to feel the subtle but powerful truth that your achievements are valuable simply because they belong to you. Each step forward reinforces the understanding that your life is yours to design, your abilities are yours to develop, and your potential is yours to realize. This is the emotional power of choosing growth over approval. It aligns your mind, your heart, and your energy toward meaningful action. Every day you invest in your growth, you strengthen your focus and expand your capacity for resilience. Small, consistent actions compound into remarkable transformation. Each skill you master, each insight you gain, each boundary you establish contributes to the life you are creating. Comparison becomes irrelevant because your attention is fully occupied with your own evolution. The voices of judgment and envy that once clouded your mind lose their influence. You begin to feel an inner clarity and a sense of purpose that guides every decision, shapes every action, and fuels every ambition. The emotional reward of prioritizing growth over approval is profound. You become unstoppable because your drive is internal, your satisfaction self-generated, and your focus unwavering. You no longer measure your worth by other standards. You define it by your own progress, your own resilience, and your own courage. This shift changes everything. Your energy is no longer diluted by envy or distraction. Your time is spent building, creating, and expanding. Every effort is invested in yourself, and every success is a testament to your relentless commitment to becoming who you are capable of being. Growth is the fire that fuels freedom, the compass that guides you towards your purpose, and the proof that living for yourself is the most powerful path you can choose. The way you define success shapes the life you build. Too often, people adopt someone else's standards, chasing recognition, wealth, status, or approval, believing that reaching these external milestones will finally make them whole. But this kind of success is fragile. It is shaped by someone else's values, measured by someone else's expectations, and judged by someone else's lens. True fulfillment does not come from fitting into a mold. It comes from creating a life that aligns with your values, your passions, and your purpose. When you focus on yourself, you start to see that success is not about looking good to the world. It is about feeling right in your own life. It is about progress, growth, and the quiet knowledge that every day you are building something meaningful and entirely yours. Redefining success requires courage. It demands that you step away from the applause, the comparison, and the societal checklist. Psychology shows that when people pursue externally imposed goals, they often feel empty even when they achieve them. The mind and heart crave alignment between actions and values. When your goals reflect what you truly care about, motivation becomes intrinsic, energy flows effortlessly, and satisfaction becomes deep and lasting. You start to feel the difference immediately. The tension eases, the constant need for approval fades, and your focus sharpens on the path that belongs solely to you. Success, measured by your own standards, is fulfilling because it validates your growth, your choices, and your life on your terms. When you commit to defining success for yourself, you reclaim freedom. You are no longer a performer in someone else's story. You are the author of your own life, free to create the future you desire. Each decision you make, each action you take, is measured against your values rather than external expectations. This shift creates immense emotional clarity. You no longer chase what others think matters. You stop being distracted by comparisons, envy, or judgment. Instead, your energy is focused on building, improving, and becoming the person you know you are capable of being. Every step forward reinforces the truth that your life is yours and that you are capable of achieving it. without relying on anyone else's approval. The emotional reward of this transformation is profound. You begin to feel grounded, confident, and unstoppable. You experience the quiet but undeniable satisfaction of progress that belongs to you alone. Each achievement, small or large, becomes proof of your capability and evidence that your focus on yourself produces results that matter. Your sense of worth is no longer fragile or dependent on external recognition. It is solid, resilient, and internal. With every choice aligned to your vision, the life you build feels more authentic, more meaningful, and more powerful. When you define success on your own terms, the noise of the world fades. You see opportunities instead of obstacles, possibilities instead of limitations, and your own path clearly instead of being lost in someone else's shadow. Comparison loses its power because you are measuring your life against your values, your growth, and your purpose. Every action becomes intentional, every effort meaningful, and every step a reflection of your commitment to yourself. This is the freedom, the clarity, and the empowerment that comes from focusing on your own definition of success, an internal compass that guides you relentlessly toward the life you were meant to create. Your environment shapes your mind more than you realize. Every voice you hear, every habit you observe, every expectation you absorb has the power to influence your thoughts, your focus, and your energy. When you surround yourself with people who constantly compare, criticize, or distract, it becomes almost impossible to focus on your own growth. Social influence is not just a theory, it is a biological reality. The brain mirrors behaviors and attitudes it is exposed to repeatedly. Negative influences amplify fear, self-doubt, and distraction. Positive influences strengthen courage, resilience, and clarity. Choosing who and what you allow into your mental and emotional space is not selfish, it is essential. Your focus on yourself cannot thrive in an environment designed to pull you outward toward other people's expectations, their noise, or their definitions of value. Letting go of toxic influences is a radical act of self-respect. It requires awareness, courage, and decisiveness. You may need to set boundaries, reduce exposure to certain people, or eliminate the constant stream of comparison from social media and the outside world. The rewards are immediate and profound. As your environment becomes cleaner, quieter, and more aligned with your goals, your mind gains clarity, your energy expands, and your focus sharpens. Suddenly, the distractions that once seemed overwhelming lose their power. You begin to feel the freedom of choosing what affects your thoughts, what dictates your actions, and what shapes your emotional state. This is not a small shift. It is transformative because your inner world is now in your control, not dictated by external chaos. The psychology of influence shows that repeated exposure to negativity, envy, or unrealistic expectations can create stress, self-doubt, and fear. But when you consciously curate your environment to support your growth, you activate the brain's reward system in a way that reinforces focus, motivation, and resilience. You begin to notice opportunities instead of obstacles, solutions instead of problems, and potential instead of limitation. Your mind becomes a fertile ground for progress because the seeds of comparison and distraction are no longer taking root. Every choice to protect your energy and focus reinforces the belief that your life is yours to shape and that nothing external can steal the growth you are committed to cultivating. Emotionally, this shift is profound. Anxiety and tension diminish because your mind is no longer constantly pulled toward others' lives. Self-doubt fades because your sense of worth is anchored internally. Pride emerges naturally as you witness yourself building, growing, and acting in alignment with your values. You start to feel the liberation that comes from knowing your focus, your energy, and your attention are entirely your own. Every day becomes an opportunity to invest in yourself, uninterrupted by the noise of comparison, judgment, or external expectation. When you create an environment that supports self-focus, your potential multiplies. Your actions become more intentional, your choices more aligned, and your energy more powerful. The people, habits, and influences you engage with no longer dilute your growth, they amplify it. You begin to see that the world will always be noisy, that comparison will always exist, but you have the power to control what enters your mind and what shapes your emotional state. Protecting your environment is not optional. It is the foundation upon which the life you desire is built. Every boundary you set, every influence you release, every space you create for yourself is a step toward freedom, clarity, and unstoppable transformation. The small, consistent actions you take each day determine the trajectory of your life more than any single decision ever could. Rituals, habits, and routines are the scaffolding on which your growth is built. When you dedicate even a few minutes each day to your goals, your mind begins to rewire itself, reinforcing focus, discipline, and purpose. Science shows that repeated action strengthens neural pathways, making focus and self-control easier over time. Every choice you make to invest in yourself, no matter how small, compounds into momentum that carries you toward transformation. The key is consistency, not perfection, because progress grows quietly, invisibly, and inevitably when attention is sustained. Daily rituals are not just mechanical, they are deeply emotional. Each act of focus, reflection, and intentional effort signals to your brain and heart that your growth matters. This builds confidence, reinforces self-respect, and creates a sense of control over your life. The world may be chaotic, noisy, and distracting, but your habits anchor you. They remind you that your energy is precious, your focus is valuable, and your time is limited. Every morning you choose to act deliberately. Every evening you reflect on your progress, and every day you protect your energy becomes a declaration. Your life belongs to you, and you will steward it with care, courage, and determination. The power of daily rituals is magnified when they are aligned with your true goals and values. Journaling your intentions, reviewing your priorities, setting achievable tasks, and practicing mindfulness or gratitude are not arbitrary. They are tools that focus your mind, sharpen your clarity, and cultivate resilience. Each small habit reinforces your commitment to yourself and your vision. The repetition trains your brain to prioritize long-term growth over instant gratification, self-respect over approval, and personal mastery over comparison. These rituals transform your focus from reactive to proactive, from distracted to intentional, from scattered to powerful. Emotionally, the impact is profound. Each day that you dedicate time to your own growth, you feel stronger, more capable, and more aligned with your purpose. Anxiety diminishes because your attention is no longer hijacked by others' successes or expectations. Pride grows naturally because every small action becomes evidence of your commitment to yourself. You begin to trust your own process, rely on your own abilities, and celebrate victories that are completely yours. The compounding effect of consistent self-focus creates momentum that is unstoppable, a force that carries you steadily toward the life you are building with purpose, courage, and integrity. When you establish daily rituals for self-focus, the world's noise becomes background static. Comparison, distraction, and judgment lose their power because your attention is fully directed toward your own growth. Each action you take reinforces the understanding that your life is yours to create. Your energy is yours to manage, and your potential is yours to realize. Habits are not just actions, they are commitments. They are proof that you value yourself, your vision, and your progress more than fleeting approval or external validation. Every day you practice self-focus, you are laying the foundation for transformation, resilience, and freedom. Your rituals become the invisible architecture of a life fully aligned with who you are, what you want, and the unstoppable potential you carry within. Every step you take towards yourself is a victory, even when no one else sees it. The world may not acknowledge your progress and the applause may never come, but the internal reward is immeasurable. Celebrating your own growth is not vanity. It is essential for sustaining motivation, reinforcing confidence, and building resilience. Psychology shows that intrinsic rewards, the recognition and pride you give yourself, are far more powerful and lasting than external approval. Each time you pause to honor your effort, to acknowledge the progress you've made, you solidify the belief that your life, your actions, and your growth are meaningful and valuable. This practice rewires your mind, shifting it from reliance on validation to reliance on self-recognition, creating a foundation of strength that cannot be shaken by comparison, criticism, or external noise. When you celebrate yourself, you reinforce the truth that your efforts are enough, that your journey matters, and that your achievements are valid regardless of external recognition. Small victories, like completing a task you thought was impossible, overcoming a fear, or simply showing up consistently, become powerful proof of your capability. Each acknowledgement strengthens your confidence, deepens your self-respect, and ignites further action. The mind responds to recognition of progress by releasing chemicals that enhance motivation, focus, and satisfaction, creating a feedback loop that accelerates growth. This is why internal celebration is not optional. It is a psychological and emotional necessity for anyone seeking lasting transformation. Focusing on your own victories transforms your emotional landscape. Anxiety diminishes because you no longer measure yourself against others. Self-doubt fades because your sense of worth comes from your own assessment of your actions. Pride grows naturally, rooted in your effort, your consistency, and your courage. You begin to feel empowered because you are the one witnessing your progress, the one acknowledging your effort, and the one benefiting from the transformation. The world's judgments no longer hold power over you because your internal validation has become stronger, more reliable, and more satisfying than any external recognition ever could. Celebrating yourself also reinforces the habit of self-focus. Each time you recognize your accomplishments, you strengthen the neural pathways that support self-motivation, resilience, and intentional action. You begin to seek growth for the sake of growth, mastery for the sake of mastery, and fulfillment for the sake of fulfillment. This is the emotional and psychological power of self-recognition. It frees you from the constant pull of comparison, external approval, and societal pressure. Your attention becomes fully aligned with your own journey, and your energy flows toward building the life that belongs to you, step by deliberate step. When you embrace the practice of celebrating your progress, you create momentum that compounds exponentially. Each acknowledgement fuels the next effort, each victory inspires further action, and each step builds confidence that cannot be shaken by fear or doubt. You begin to see that the life you desire is not dependent on anyone else. It is built through your commitment, your courage, and your consistent effort. By valuing yourself, by recognizing your own growth, and by honoring your journey, you generate an unstoppable force that propels you toward transformation, freedom, and the fulfillment that comes from living fully for yourself. Your victories, though unseen by the world, are profound because they are entirely yours. Your attention is your most valuable resource, and how you choose to spend it defines the life you are building. Every glance at someone else's achievements, every moment lost to comparison, and every thought consumed by judgment is energy drained from your own growth. The mind can only fully invest in one focus at a time, and when that focus is elsewhere, your potential stagnates. By deliberately directing your attention inward toward your goals, your growth, and your actions, you reclaim power that was once scattered to the noise of the outside world. Attention is the currency of transformation, and where it flows, energy follows, and results inevitably emerge. Focusing your attention on yourself transforms the way you approach challenges. Obstacles are no longer overwhelming. They are opportunities to test your resilience, sharpen your skills, and strengthen your determination. The mind functions optimally when it is fully engaged in purposeful activity, and every deliberate action you take builds confidence, clarity, and momentum. Psychology shows that people who direct their attention towards self-improvement rather than external comparison experience higher motivation, better emotional regulation, and greater satisfaction with life. Each moment spent focusing on yourself reinforces the belief that your growth is more important than others' opinions, that your journey is unique, and that your energy is best invested where it yields real, lasting transformation. The emotional impact of sustained self-focus is profound. Anxiety and insecurity begin to fade because your mind is no longer consumed with judgment and comparison. Pride and confidence rise naturally because your achievements are measured by your own standards, not anyone else's. You begin to feel a sense of empowerment that is unshakable, a quiet certainty that your actions, your effort, and your choices are sufficient and meaningful. This internal validation becomes a source of strength that external circumstances cannot diminish. You start to notice that when your attention is fully aligned with your own path, your energy multiplies, your creativity flourishes, and your ability to overcome setbacks expands. When you control your focus, you also control your perception of time and progress. The distractions that once made your days feel scattered, incomplete, or wasted lose their power. Every hour, every choice, every effort is directed toward building the life that belongs to you. Momentum grows as focus deepens. Small actions compound. Consistent effort reinforces discipline, And the quiet accumulation of growth transforms into tangible results. You begin to see the invisible impact of attention directed inward as your confidence, competence, and clarity rise simultaneously. The power of self-focus also frees you from the weight of others' expectations. When your energy is devoted to your own growth, the pressure to perform, to impress, or to compare diminishes. You experience freedom, the freedom to choose your priorities, the freedom to act in alignment with your values, and the freedom to build a life defined by your vision rather than someone else's. Every moment spent focused on yourself strengthens the neural pathways of self-motivation, self-control, and resilience, creating a life that is not reactive, but intentional, not scattered but powerful, not borrowed from others but entirely your own. Your attention becomes a tool of transformation, a force that shapes your reality, and a reminder that where you direct your focus, your life will follow. Your energy is sacred, and how you spend it determines the quality of your life. Every thought you dwell on, every emotion you feed, and every interaction you engage in consumes a portion of this energy. When it is spent on envy, comparison, or external approval, it leaves little for the work that truly matters: your growth, your focus, and your purpose. Energy follows attention, and attention follows choice. By consciously deciding to invest your energy in yourself, you create momentum that is unstoppable. Each effort, each deliberate action, and each moment of focus compounds, producing results that are uniquely yours, untainted by the expectations or distractions of others. Protecting your energy is not optional, it is essential. Emotional and mental energy is the foundation of resilience, creativity, and performance. Psychology shows that humans have a limited pool of attentional resources each day. When this energy is misdirected toward comparison, judgment, or distraction, your capacity for growth diminishes. When it is focused inward toward your own development, your potential expands exponentially. Every choice to act deliberately, to practice discipline, to honor your own priorities, and to safeguard your mental space reinforces the understanding that your life is yours to cultivate. This is the power of energy management. It transforms the way you think, feel, and act, aligning every ounce of effort with your highest purpose. Emotionally conserving your energy amplifies your strength and clarity. You begin to feel lighter, less burdened by the expectations of others, and more capable of acting decisively toward your goals. Anxiety and fear lose their grip because they thrive on divided attention and reactive living. Self-doubt diminishes because your actions are grounded in purpose rather than comparison. Each time you redirect your energy to yourself, you reinforce confidence, self-reliance, and resilience. You realize that external validation is optional, but internal energy, when harnessed correctly, is limitless. When your energy is focused on yourself, the world's noise becomes background static. Distractions lose their hold and comparison becomes irrelevant. Your actions become intentional, guided by values and vision rather than the fleeting judgments or opinions of others. This is the space where true transformation occurs, where every decision, every habit, and every action aligns with your priorities, creating momentum that compounds over time. The energy you protect and direct toward your growth becomes the force that propels you toward freedom, achievement, and fulfillment. Managing your energy also enhances your emotional intelligence and resilience. You start to notice which environments, interactions, and habits drain you, and which energize and uplift you. You become deliberate about who and what you allow into your inner world. This awareness allows you to build a life that nurtures your growth instead of sabotaging it. Every decision to preserve and invest your energy strengthens focus, sharpens clarity, and amplifies the impact of your efforts. The more consistently you choose to channel your energy inward, the more powerful and unstoppable you become. By protecting your energy and directing it towards yourself, you are no longer living reactively or aimlessly. You are building a life of purpose, resilience, and self-determination. Every ounce of energy invested in yourself is a building block for transformation. It fuels focus, strengthens discipline, and ignites the courage necessary to create a life that is fully yours. Energy, once harnessed intentionally, becomes the engine of growth, freedom, and unstoppable personal power.